Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel if you're a returnee. If you're new, just a little bit about me. My name is Jamie. I'm a nonconformist that works with badass women who are wildly untraditional and are ready to design their life according to what really resonates with them and really tapping into what truly, really excites your soul. I'm a mindset coach and an energy healer. And I love to jump on YouTube and share with you guys some insights. And today I want to talk to you guys about what to do and how to really get yourself to feel, essentially to turn on your emotions when you're numb. Now, this is something that I'm really, really passionate about because I'm an empath and I self-identify as a badass energy bitch because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about what it means to be an empath. Like it's somehow a weak negative thing, and it's just so the complete opposite of that. I just feel like there's so much misinformation. And one of the things that are, I think, I don't know if it's a misinformation, but an overgeneralization that overlooks a lot of different types of empaths is that all empaths are feeling empaths. And that's not true. When I was younger, that was my dominant form of empathic gifts that showed up. And it was really interesting as a child because I was working with the healer as an adult, and I had told her that I felt like I was very much like a demanding and needy child. And I was told, no, you actually weren't. She was like, I mean, you were demanding, but she said that a lot of that energy was amplified, and I was expressing what my parents were internalizing. And so interestingly enough, a lot of people had wonderful things to say about me when I wasn't around my parents' energy, and a lot of that, like kind of those annoyances, that sense of urgency that I felt, was something that I picked up from my parents. And I really didn't have a positive experience with it. And as a result of that, I distinctly remember when I was a child looking at myself in the mirror, and I know that I shut something down. I didn't fully know what it was, but that was one of the last moments where I really kind of felt anything. Whereas as I got older, up until maybe the past couple of years, I don't want to say that I was completely numb of feelings, but there were a lot of things that I was very desensitized to, and the feelings that I felt were minimal, if at all, most of the time. And so I think the thing that was really frustrating for me as I was, really starting to show up in my business and designing the life that I want, I've heard all the experts say the key to manifesting is to feeling. Now, I do think that feeling is a wonderful way to really tap into your emotion, to tap into the things that you truly desire. But I hardly believe that it's the only way to manifest things. We live in such an abundant universe, and let's be real, there are some people that are emotionally insensitive, emotionally numb, emotionally completely desensitized, that are able to manifest powerfully. But part of having this human experience is to feel. And I think it's so important to embody those aspects. And whether you realize it or not, if you're being emotionally numb, you are rejecting aspects of yourself, and that's not of high value. And that's why I'm so passionate to jump on here today and share with you guys ways that you can really turn on your feelings to shift out of that emotional numbness. And I think that this is so, so important because when I was starting off on my journey, I kind of recognized the value of it, not emotionally, but logically. I recognized, yeah, like I should feel like this is something that's important that I'm missing out on. And yet I felt like I was surrounded by people who just already naturally knew how to be emotional. And so I really didn't know how to get there. And I just really wanted to experience that, like that bridge that'll allow me to get to that other side. And so I'm hoping that I can be that bridge for you and share with you some insights that have really worked well for me. Now, personally, I believe that everything that we need, or almost everything that we need, is already inside of us. But with that said, we're social creatures, and I feel like we are meant to connect with other people for a reason. And that's why even if we do have everything we need, in order to activate those things, it requires us to interact with other people. And if you're at a place in your life where you're emotionally numb and you're having a really hard time, I think looking for support is really, really important. starting with finding support and recruiting yourself and recruiting your mind to be receptive and cooperative. Because if you're not really feeling things, I'm guessing that you're very cerebral, you're so much in your headspace, and you have to like quantify everything, you have to rationalize everything. And so, you know what? Don't fight it. Work with who you are and where you're at right now. So for me, one of the first things about really, starting my journey of really emotionally turning on is for me to recognize the value in it. So again, even if you can't understand it from a feeling perspective, I recognize I'm human. Part of this experience is to feel. We have feelings for a reason. We have sensations. To ignore them is to have this incomplete experience or to suppress them. And why would I want to do that? I want to live my life to the fullest, right? And there's just so many things that I feel like you don't get to experience unless you are connected to your feelings and your emotions, because certain things really are transmitted through your body. And one of the things that really helped me out is when you're very much in your headspace, it's kind of an oxymoron, but it's like, we like to be productive, we like to be efficient, and yet being in your head is one of the most inefficient ways to get things done because things move slower in the brain. And that's why so many of us rely on it, so many of us become addicted to it, so many of us find relief in it, because we can turn every stone, we can analyze everything. That speed at which you have to figure shit out is actually very time consuming. You just don't realize it because you have nothing to compare it against if you've been emotionally numb for so long. I want you to think about, for example, if you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you start to feel like you're in danger, right? Imagine the amount of time it would take your brain to process that information. You start looking around. Who is the threat? Oh, that person has a gun. Oh, it looks like there's about to be a shooting. Oh, wait, you know what? That person is about to get jumped. You know what? This is a dangerous neighborhood. Oh, look at that street sign. Oh, yeah, you're now officially in the hood. You need to turn your ass around. Think about how long it took me to just explain all of that, right? Now imagine if something like this was happening and moments later there was a shooting that happened. The amount of time that you wasted to try to figure it out in your mind is very inefficient. And to think that we live in a world that prioritizes how to be more productive, how to be more efficient, how to get things done quickly, one of the best ways to ensure that you do this is by connecting with your body, turning on your feelings. Your emotions, your feelings, they don't exist in the brain. They exist in the body. They're felt in the heart, which is in the body. And this is why it's so important to just kind of recognize that, our head is just like the small percentage of our body, right? But the rest of our body where we feel, there's so much more mass space, because I truly believe we're meant to feel more than anything. There are no more nerves and more, I don't remember all the details, but when it comes to reading like the vibrations and the energy, there's more of it in your heart area than in our brain. And yet, there's so many of us that have been like, oh, let me just live in my head. And it's like, no, actually getting grounded, being rooted, our feet being on the bottom. This is what's most important. This is what really helps you to become efficient. Now, going back to that example where if you feel in danger, right? And there's a shooting that's about to start. If you just all of a sudden listen to your body and you just started running, you could literally have saved your life, and that shit is way more fucking efficient than living in your head. So I want you to recruit your mind. I want you to place yourself in a situation where your mind is going to cooperate and be receptive to this journey, because oftentimes when you are emotionally numb, there's a fear around it or a desensitization, or you forget the value in it. And it's so easy to go back into our habits and retreating and going back into the mind. So you want to continue to remind yourself of why actually, no, I'm going on this path. I'm going into this feeling state, this feeling journey. And so really get clear about what the benefits and values are for you to really emotionally turn on your feelings, whatever that is for you. For me, it was, giving examples of like how long something will take in the brain versus in the body. The benefits and the value, the ways that you can understand things through the body that you cannot possibly explain in the mind, because emotions don't exist in the mind. And yet there is this infinite source of intelligence, emotionally, feeling-wise, body sensation in the body that's also analytical. It just uses a different language. And then I thought, I love to learn. I love to grow. I have invested so much money on coaches and healers, and one of the best tools available to us is our feelings. And so that's why I decided to really stay committed. So if these reasons resonate for you, please feel free to adopt them and come up with your own as well, because the more personally connected they are to you, the more real they feel to you, the more significant they are to you, the more you're going to be able to really stay on this path. Now, the next thing is I recommend connecting with feelers. Now, this goes back to asking for support, okay? The internal support is recruiting your mind and really rationalizing why this is a value and benefit. And then connecting with feelers are to look for other people who naturally experience and have a healthy relationship with feelings and emotions, because there's something about being around them that has an influence that can be incredibly activating. Okay, and I want it to be someone preferably that you have a positive experience with so that you don't resist it. I remember when I had first started going on this journey, I was very touch and go, and I would be like, well, do I really want to do this? I was like, I mean, there's so many people who are emotional. They go through like these, they have like these little like shit shows, and like everything feels like it's the end of the world. Whereas like I feel like I have so much of my shit together. So why would I want to do that? And it was just very easy for me to rationalize when I just tried to do this journey on my own. But the thing is, that's like I'm the blind leading the blind. If I want to learn something that I don't know yet, being surrounded by mentors and inspiration that is going to really like guide me and give me those breadcrumbs, that's going to be so much more powerful than me trying to remember what is inside of me, but that I've had so much time excavating. So by all means, connect with feelers. And in this day and age, I feel like it's so much easier to do that. Even if you don't go out necessarily and like your circle of friends are not very emotional feeling, you can go on Facebook. They have so many different groups. They have groups for those of you who are familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality type, or you can look for feelers or any sort of Facebook group. You can put in keywords of feelers and you can just say, hey, I'm working on my journey of turning on my feelings. I've been emotionally numb for quite some time, and I would really love to connect with someone who are feelers. I would love to jump on a call with you. If you could chat with me, I'd really appreciate it. You would be amazed the outpouring of support and love that you'll get from strangers who love to do stuff like this, because for them, it's so enjoyable. It's just about placing yourself where those resources are at. You can really seek it out. The world has been designed to be so accessible nowadays. It's just a matter of leveraging these resources that are at our fingertips. Okay? And maybe connecting with strangers is going to feel more comfortable and safe for you than your existing circle. Plus, you don't have like this familiar pattern of how you interact and show up with them. Or maybe this will feel better with someone that you are connected with, someone that you do understand, someone that is already familiar with who you are. And you can try multiple different avenues to see what really works for you. Eventbrite is another great place where people list different like mixers, gatherings, and resources. You could also try meetup.com. And some of these things are free, some of them cost money, but it's just a wonderful way to really kind of get a feel of what is out there in your community. All right. One of the other things that I really love to do is to do something physically intensive, because it's very activating. It really turns on your physical sensations, and the more you exhaust your body, the more it fatigues your brain, and the less your brain has, the more energy it has to take over, and then that allows your body to take over. Personally, I'm not a big fan of exercising, so that hasn't particularly worked well for me. Some ways that I've had some workaround is, for me, I'm not big about going to the gym. I mean, I have a gym in my apartment building, and my neighbor is literally across from the gym, and he gave me like this really cute purple sweatshirt that I turned into a crop top. And all I got to do is fucking wear it and then just go right across the street. And I don't even, not right across the street, but like just right across the hallway. And I don't even do that, because for me, it just seems like such a huge amount of work. And so what I found that works for me is I go on YouTube, I roll out of bed, I'm still naked, and I'm doing some sort of exercise, some sort of fitness. I find that when I do it like first thing in the morning at 4 a.m., I actually have some pretty good dance moves, you guys, but by 7 a.m. my brain is turned on. I'm so busy thinking about everything that I'm not paying attention. My body isn't taking over. And so I'm very slow and I miss a bunch of steps. So it can also be a time thing. Really tune into when you probably feel the most sleepy, groggy, when your brain is less turned on. This may be the best time for you to create a ritual that allows you to connect with your body and your emotions and your feelings. All right. Let's see what else. The example I gave with, having a neighbor who, has a gym right across from where he lives, maybe having a friend or asking them, hey, like have an accountability partner and say, will you, work out with me? Something like that. Hiking is a good way to do that. Like in the beginning of my journey, probably like 5 years ago or something, I wasn't so much hiking to turn on my feelings and emotions, but what I found was that when I hiked, my brain went quiet. So it allowed me to disengage from the very source of my body that was keeping me from really connecting with my emotions and body. So look for what those methods are for you. It's basically some form of meditation, which can show up in different ways. I also love to do abstract painting. And I prefer abstract painting because it's not precise, so I don't have to analyze and think of everything. But then again, I have a friend who personally loves those adult mandala meditation coloring books, and he said there's something to be said about turning off your brain and having something to focus on, because something that I didn't consider is when you are told you have to follow it, you have to color within these lines in this specific order. It's so tedious that you really your all of your focus and energy competes with your overwhelming thoughts, that it actually forces your brain to kind of hold back in order to complete the project of finishing coloring. So that was kind of a nice little surprise for me. And he and I actually take turns coloring, where like one of us will start something, the other one continues it. So it's another way to really stay accountable, which has really worked well for me. If you're someone who does really well with support systems, I definitely recommend that. Reach out for support. I think that there's this stigma that it's like, you have to do things yourself, that if you have to ask for support, it's somehow negative. And I disagree with that at all. We're all designed differently, and it's so important to honor who you are. If you find that having external support works for you, leverage that, okay? Start where you are, use what you have, do what you love, make it easy for yourself to be successful at this, okay? Don't make a story around why it's not gonna work, or what it means about who you are as a person. Just fucking get started, all right? This is so, so important. Now, for those of you guys who are local to Los Angeles, I recommend Unplug. It's a meditation center. There's one in West Hollywood and in Santa Monica, and they have something called breathwork. Now, to be entirely honest with you, I went to this place and I thought that it was personally really kind of whitewashed and very like, oh, like this is so great and I love it and blah, 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 blah. And it just felt like, well, is this really like, is it really legit, or is it just a bunch of people that are just saying that? Like, I wasn't sure if it was kind of cultish or not. And honestly, I've gone to multiple classes. Like they have like a 30-day intro period for $30 where you can take as many classes as you want. And I wasn't too impressed with a lot of the other classes, but the breath work is absolutely amazing. You lay down, there's some music, you get guided, but basically you are inhaling into your mouth, into your chest, and into your stomach, and then you inhale it out all through your nose, and it has something to do with how it corresponds with your hypothalamus. I don't remember all of the details, but you do this and you are literally actively dislodging the energy, and you kind of choose the rhythm in which you do it. Some people go really fast, some people go really slow. In the beginning, I had to do it really slow because I didn't know how to like breathe in that order. So I was very confused about how to kind of get it going. And it's amazing because I'm someone who doesn't really break down, and I found myself tearing up and crying. I was just so upset because I realized, oh my God, like there's so many experiences that I had that were actually very limited. And I thought that I was happy, but it's like I was so uninformed. Like I only allowed myself to feel 5% of happiness. Like how can I, that was such a ripoff. And I was just kind of mourning for all of those lost experiences that I had, and it was so intense. And I felt heat throughout my body. I felt tightness. I mean, it is incredible the different experiences that you'll have. And at the very least, I feel like, putting in this effort, I think is so huge because, you're going to get recommendations along the way and they're not all going to resonate with you. But when you put in that effort, when you show the universe that you're interested, there's another breadcrumb that's going to show up. You might meet someone who's going to be like, oh, I have didgeridoo, sound bath healing meditations, or I am doing this exercise, whatever the situation is. Someone may recommend a book to you. Just be open to the possibility that something wonderful is going to happen. You can also sign up through ClassPass where they have, I think like you get like for your first time, you get a certain amount of credits for free. And whenever you take classes, it uses up whatever credits that you have. And you can take at least 1 or 2 classes with breath work using the free ClassPass. So I'll go ahead and link below my ClassPass information so that you can get some free classes. And I gotta tell you, I really, really, really recommend breath work. Now, the other thing is, when you're trying to turn on your feelings, usually what happens is I feel like there's something that has made us emotionally shut down, and you can either go to that very end and kind of follow that thread if that works for you, or look back on your life and look at what emotion is easiest for you to access. For me, anger is the easiest emotion for me to access, or actually excitement is. But I feel like I kind of plateau with my certain level of excitement. But I feel like where I'm resisting and kind of like holding back is all of the layers behind anger that I'm still working on learning to get comfortable with it. And you know what? One of the things that I discovered is anger is my favorite emotion to transmute because I feel like it's so fiery, it's so activating that I can turn that energy into something else. And it's not like sadness where like the energy depletes me. I feel very weak. So to transmute it, I still need to charge that energy. That's an extra step that I have to take. Anger, that's not something that I really have to do. And so that was one of the ways that I rationalized, you know what? I do still feel emotions even when I think I'm emotionally numb. Let me prove it. And so what I did was I started connecting with anger. I started thinking about the things that angered me, the things that made me upset, the things that you want to be responsible with it. You want to direct it in a way where you get value out of it. You don't want to just get angry and then just disengage, or perpetuate that, because then you're going to be in a state of negativity. It's like, when you let yourself get angry about that thing, ask yourself, why are you really getting upset? Why are you really worked up about this? One of the things for me is I get really, really condescending and angry and livid when people are being stupid. Like, it just is so enraging to me. And it's like, at the end of the day, why am I really that upset? Someone being stupid is not going to jeopardize the roof over my head. I'm still going to be able to pay my rent. I'm still going to be able to do these amazing YouTube videos for you guys. I still get to eat some of my favorite foods, hang out with some of my closest friends, and the people that I love. I get to have meaningful experiences. I get to go to the beach. I get to have potlucks. I get to do abstract painting. I get to party with my friends. I get to do all these things that I love to do. And so it's like, why am I really upset? Like, it's like, it's not about that specific situation. There's something that I'm coping with, and my emotion is an indicator and a map to what that is. And I realized that my dad used to be a really angry person, and I felt like it was very unsafe and it was dangerous to be stupid, like, because right before he got violent, he was very condescending, he was very upsetting. So part of it was like, yes, I was recreating and I had developed some negative habits from my dad, but it was also this cry, this need for me to feel safe. And I was getting so upset. I was like, I was a scared child, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, if you're stupid, you're gonna get hurt. And so I would become so condescending to the point that it encourages people to shut down and retreat, because I was like, if they just stop being stupid, then no one's going to get hurt. That's the place that I was coming from. And obviously that doesn't make it okay, but it gives context into why I do this, right? And the thing is, particularly with anger, underneath anger is grief, underneath that is sadness. And so in order to peel away those and access those layers, you have to go through the anger, whatever that is. And so for me, that's what was really important, was to get that. So it's like, not realizing that that first layer of emotion is the end all be all, and wanting to sink beyond that. Tapping is a wonderful way to continue to access that. If you're interested in learning more about that, go ahead and comment below, and I'd be happy to create some videos for you on, it's called EFT, or emotional freedom technique, or tapping. And just a quick recap, it's basically these pressure points that you tap on throughout your body. And what it does is it soothes your nervous system, and it activates feelings, and it moves around stuck energy. It's a really powerful tool, which I didn't initially really appreciate because, one, I wasn't emotional enough to really get the power and benefit out of it. And a lot of the traditional scripts just don't work for me. And so if you're in that category, please comment below, because I have had to come up with my own scripts and dialogues to really connect with it. And I feel like a lot of those different versions aren't around. And so I'd love to share with you what's worked for me. Now, I have another friend. She watches Disney movies. Like, I think it brings her back to a time in her life when she was very emotional. So it kind of primes and cues her body, and she gets to gauge where she is emotionally. Sometimes she doesn't cry at all. Other times she can kind of feel the emotions brewing, and other times she just completely cries and she's like, yes, I'm tapped in, and so that, I think, is great, because it's like, it's a really enjoyable, healthy relationship. It's something that you get to anchor yourself into. Look into your life and see if there's something like that that exists for you, if it resonates. Now, my last suggestion is something that I do want to caution you against, because I feel like it's a double-edged sword. It's the feeling wheel map. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. I apologize. I wish I had. Oh, you know what? Actually, I believe I do have it as a reference, you guys. Oops, a little shaky there. I'm so happy that I can share this with you. You can Google it and download it. It's a free PDF. It's called the Feeling Wheel, and it's backwards, but basically you'll notice that there's like these different center emotions, and then from the center emotions are these other emotions that trickle out into these emotions. And what's interesting is that apparently there are certain emotions that you cannot experience at the same time. So like, you can't feel lonely and excited at the same time. Or, I'm sorry, lonely and energetic at the same time. So that's why a lot of people who are lonely tend to overeat, because they don't have a lot of energy, so they need to continue to nourish themselves. And so I thought that was really fascinating. But I think the thing that's really important that I want to caution you guys against is, don't become so reliant on this that you are using it as a guide that you're not checking in with yourself and you're using your brain to decipher, how do I feel? Because when you're doing that, the intent is there, but you're using a process that takes you further away from your emotions. But in the beginning, when you're not sure, honestly, I have a really expansive vocabulary, but I realized that there were a lot of emotional words that I didn't remember. And so for me, reading this was really helpful, like hostile, hurt, ashamed, lonely, content, intimate, loving, nurturing, responsive, serene, relaxed, confident, discerning, valuable, amused, insignificant, discouraged, bewildered, rejected, helpless, submissive, insecure. There's so many different words that I kind of didn't remember. So even if I did feel a certain emotion, I didn't know how to identify it. And if I didn't know how to identify it, it was very esoteric. And so it didn't have a vivid experience for me. So I wasn't able to kind of work through it and connect with it on a deeper level. And so that's why I recommend using this feeling wheel, is to provide you with clarity and guidance, but I don't want you to use it as a crutch. One of the things that I noticed when I first started using this was, I was like, well, I don't really feel sad. I mean, I don't know if I really feel this. I don't know if I really feel that. And that's because I had a narrow idea of, whenever I did feel emotions, they were the intensified versions or the limited range that I allowed myself to feel. And I thought that that's all that it meant to be sad. I didn't know that there were different variations of sadness, or whatever the situation. And so what I found was when I was looking at this feeling wheel map, logically, I might be like, no, that's not my emotion. And my body would be like, yes, it is. And I was like, huh, that is interesting. My body is saying yes to this emotion. Okay, let's just go with this. So it was very educational and informative for me early on in my journey. And so, depending on where you are, you may find that in the beginning it's perfect, or you may find that you need to develop your own inner understanding of your emotions before you get distracted with something external. I want you to determine for yourself what works best for you based on who you are, where you are in the situation, in this journey, and what resonates with you. So that is my tips on how to feel and turn on your emotions when you're feeling emotionally numb. Please let me know how this resonates with you. If you found some tips that you want to try out, comment below and let me know which ones you're going to try, and then come back and comment and let us know how the experience went for you. If you have any tips that have worked for you, if you have any questions, please feel free and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And if this video resonates with you, please hit the subscribe button, like it, and share it so that more people can see it. Thanks for watching. Bye.